talk a little bit there? I can adjust everything.
Let me see if the phone mic is stronger than the headset that I...
Yeah, and you're not distorting at all.
Good. Very good. Then we'll stick with that.
Okay. I just get frustrated. I mean, it's just like I've had so many people contacting me, because right now it seems like this past year, the UFOs have just, picked up people talking about, unidentified objects way more than they have in years. I mean, it went through a cycle where it kind of was dying off. And then all of a sudden, I think since the release of the Navy, of the 2 pilots, chasing something, and when that happened, it started bringing the whole thing back out to where people started talking about it more again.
Actually, there was never really a pullback. The phenomena was constantly going and constantly being engaged. That was just some skeptics thinking that they could make a point on that, so it didn't fall off. And what's happening now is not a resurgence of sightings, though there are plenty of sightings. What's happening now is that the concept of disclosure is taking hold finally, and people are focusing on that.
Well, I think it's about time, that we should know what's going on, and I think it's about time. I hate to say it, the government should be honest with us. And I know a government is never going to be totally honest with, the citizens. They can't be because of national security. But how long can you deny something exists when it's been so many people for such a long period of time, have had encounters and it's just been too many strange things going on, on a daily basis around the world.
Well, the answer is 71 years so far. But I believe that the lying and distrust is a product of many things, including the Cold War, which was pretty unusual when you think about it. Never in human history have we faced a fully existential, at a global level, threat, and never have we had the kinds of intelligence and classified secret operations at the scope and depth what we had during the Cold War. I mean, these are unusual times, extraordinary times, which makes them almost impossible to grasp because there's no real reference. But the process, what's going on now is that people are shifting from UFOs, which is a pointless, useless term, to disclosure, which is based upon a fact, the fact of an extraterrestrial presence, not the theory of it. And disclosure is the formal acknowledgement. They're focusing on that because developments are accelerating related to that process. And that's the final stage. Look, it took a long time. I helped develop the term disclosure back in the 90s. It initially was a little bit fuzzy, but it finally clarified to be exactly what I said earlier, the formal acknowledgement by heads of state. And that concept, capital D, is now becoming a very present idea, and this is exciting. It's far more exciting to contemplate that announcement than it is to simply talk about unidentified flying objects. That gets extremely boring after a while.
Well, I mean, you're so right on that.
Yeah. So the level of excitement is increasing. The attendance at conferences is increasing. The number of conferences, certainly of late, has gone up. Media coverage there's been a lot of media coverage, but they're not investigating. They're staying short of that. And then, of course, there were extraordinary developments during the campaign, the election campaign, and then there's been extraordinary developments since the election, all related to disclosure, not UFOs, but disclosure. So the excitement level is going to increase because again, UFOs is almost meaningless to people in a way, and it's been done to death. Disclosure, the prospect of an actual announcement, which would then open up a vast array of doors to a lot of things, that's exciting, and people are starting to get that. So the amount of excitement we're going to see from people as the disclosure term, as defined, spreads and becomes more recognized and more engaged, and that can happen very fast given the nature of the internet and social media. The excitement levels are going to intensify, and that just makes the truth embargo far more vulnerable.
But how far do you think they're going to disclose? I mean, are they just going to say there is objects that have been visiting our planet, or are they going to go, you think, more in... I mean, I'm certain the government knows a lot, and I wonder how much of it they're going to tell the public out here, the citizens, what they know. Are they just going to just give us a little bit and let us hang again like we've been hanging for 71 or 72 years?
The disclosure announcement is very simple. It is simply the acknowledgement of the extraterrestrial presence. That's disclosure, as is defined by the advocacy movement. That's capital D. Then the small d disclosure process intensifies dramatically after that announcement. And we'll see. It will be a complex situation. It's hard. It's not easy to predict all the parameters that will be in place post-disclosure. There are a few things I feel confident about. One is that the media, which has pretty much gone along with the truth embargo for 7 decades, though increasingly more coverage and some useful and almost serious, not really serious investigations, but some efforts which are above and beyond what we've seen before, they will shift to the public side almost immediately. Meaning they'll be fully behind our desire to know much more, because it's just there's no sense in them continuing to support a government position at that point. The people are going to be fired up. There's ratings and money to be made, and they're going to get on our side. So now the people and the government and the media are in concert on a very large scale worldwide, demanding information from their governments. Now the question is, what will those governments do? And then the other thing I can say with some confidence is the governments will want to release as little as possible, as slow as possible. And the public media coalition will want as much as possible, as soon as possible. And over the weeks and months, and maybe a year or two, there'll be some middle ground there that will mark the small d disclosure, post-disclosure world process. How complete it'll ultimately be, I don't know. How long it will take, I don't know. But I think it's going to trigger an age of reform. That's another thing I feel good about, that will probably lead to the revealing of a lot of stuff. In other words, the government ultimately will have to sort of purge itself of so many of the lies and resolve as much as possible in order to gain the people's trust. That's going to be awkward. There's going to be public relations challenges, but the government has lots of money, and they can hire plenty of public relations people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If
so
Trump doesn't get them all to resign.
Yeah. Again, I can't speak to what Trump will or will not do, but hopefully the whole Trump thing will resolve sooner than later, and it'll make it easier to move forward.
Well, my feeling is a lot of people, having guests on the show. I've had a patient of Dr. Roger Lear that had an implant removed, Timothy Cullen. Mm-hmm. And I've, had other people on that had encounters, what I really think is when they do release it, it's going to do two things. One is the people are going to say, I knew it. And then you're going to have the other people out there, it's just totally now will mistrust the government more than ever, because, we've been lied to for so long. And then people are going to start realizing, well, we've been lied to about this. How many other things have we been lied to about?
Well, I'm going to reverse that on you. The people already know they're being lied to, and they know they're being lied to about the ET phenomena, extraterrestrial phenomena. So there's no surprise, nor are they going to be shocked, to have that understanding formalized by disclosure announcements from the president or presidents around the world. The fact is the only way you can regain trust, and speaking in a personal, both in person-to-person relationships and in government-to-citizen relationships, there is only one way to regain trust. You have to start telling the truth. You can't. You can apologize. You could apologize for all the previous lies and promise not to lie in the future, but that's not going to do it. You could bribe people. If we give you a huge tax cut or something, will you start trusting us? Of course not. There is only one way. You have to tell the truth, and people will have to confirm that. They'll have to see it confirmed, and then you tell them another truth, and they confirm that, and in time, they come to trust you again. This is fundamental human nature, and the government hasn't done that. What the government has done, and particularly the politicians, is make the unfortunate mistake of responding to this collapse of trust in government and approval ratings because of the lies by straining to lie better. In other words, if we can lie better, they'll believe us.
Yeah, sure.
And this is a silly approach. It's cowardly. It's wasteful. Whatever. But that's what they've been doing, trying to lie better. That's not working so much anymore. So, in fact, the disclosure event will probably be in terms of regaining trust in government. It's the best beginning you could possibly have, because you got to tell the truth in order to start to rectify decades of lying. It needs to be a big truth. It needs to be really big. There's nothing bigger than this. And they've got plenty more. So my belief is that disclosure is going to get a response that's favorable in so many ways, and people are going to be appreciative, and you're going to have a lot of people and politicians who are going to say, wow, we told the truth, and everybody is thrilled with that. And they like us. If we tell more truth, they're going to like us even more. And so the pendulum starts swinging back the other direction. Sounds simple, but that's the way it works in human relationships. If you lose trust in your spouse, for instance, because of some found lies, the only way the relationship can be brought back to stability is the person that was lying starts telling the truth. And what happens is then you react favorably to that, and that person feels better, and then he tells some more truth, and you get back on a trust basis. Same for citizens and their governments. And that's where we are right now.
Well, I guess, too, if the president would come out and say, hey, we are being visited, and maybe whatever, our association, if we have association with any aliens or whatever, came out and just told the American, citizens that, hey, there is things out there, we've been visited, or we were working with aliens, or whatever the story is, whatever's going on out there. I think if they came out and told the whole truth, I mean, there's going to be a certain amount of people who are going to freak out and panic. There's always going to be that. But I think the majority of people would gain a lot more trust with the government if they just would, tell everything, not just, hey, it's a little part of it.
Yeah, we'd love them to tell everything, but everything would take decades.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just say they need to get off to a good start. And the goal of this advocacy movement is extremely simple. It's asking for one thing, and that is to simply acknowledge the extraterrestrial presence. That's it. I mean, you can do it in 10 seconds or less.
Oh, yeah.
You're done. Now, what you say after that will be intensely scrutinized, obviously. There will be a lot of back and forth between the people and the government as to what will be released, and that's the way it is. They're not just going to dump everything out. That's not going to happen. And as the amount of information grows regarding the ET issue, there's going to be demands for information about other things which have been essentially dropped into the basement of the military intelligence complex and the door locked behind it. People are going to want to know more. There's many other